So to get started today, just to kind of go over briefly what we'll discuss today. Maybe if I can get the presentation to work correctly, bear with me here. Okay, so what we'll cover a little bit today is just overall just kind of what is a brand. I know sometimes a lot of people don't really understand what that is, how to use DU's brand in chapter communications, a little bit about PR campaigns, because essentially you can boil down a lot of what a chapter does into a PR campaign. We'll talk about some social media best practices, because this is the area where we tend to get a lot of questions, and then we'll leave some time for questions at the end. So throughout the webinar, if you have any questions, feel free to type those in the chat box, and I will get to those at the end of the webinar or follow up with you directly after the presentation. So to start, we'll start with what is a brand and why is it important? I'm sure all of you recognize this logo on the screen. You see it and you know that it's Apple. It also makes you think about certain things and feel certain things when you see it. When you see this logo, you're likely thinking things like clean, expensive, cutting edge, trendy, quality. And you see those things because you've had some sort of experience with Apple in these things. And even if you hate Apple, and I know a lot of programmers who do, they've based that opinion on the experiences that they've had with them. But if you're looking at these adjectives on the screen, you get these in everything that Apple does, from its products to its packaging, from their advertisements to how their store looks. These adjectives are in all of those things, and those things happen because that is who Apple is. A brand is who you are. DU's brand is our organizational values and how our members and chapters live out those values. So why am I telling you this? What does this have to do with how we improve chapter communications? Everything our chapters do and communicate should support the DU brand. We just said it, a brand is who you are. It's not your logo, it's not your colors, but those things are important and they support who you are. So if you look back at this Apple logo and the brand qualities that we said, clean, expensive, cutting edge, sleek, they're all reflected in this logo. And Apple is consistent with their brand. They don't use one logo on their phones, another one on their tablets, another one on the outside of their stores. They're always using this same logo. And it's all consistent so that no matter what product you're using or what part of the country you're in, you're getting the same Apple experience, and an experience that's reflective of their organizational values and purpose. In DU, we're the same. Our logos, symbols, colors all represent and symbolize what DU stands for and our history. There is meaning and intentionality behind all of our marks. And our chapters should be using these marks and using them appropriately. So anyone who sees them connects them with our national brand and connects them with our values and who DU is. And yes, each chapter is unique, but when it comes down to it, anyone, member or non-member, should be having a similar experience with DU if our chapters are truly living out our principles and our brand. And our chapters may have different activities and members have different backgrounds, but at the end of the day, everyone should be there because they stand for and believe in the same things. So on the DU website, I'm not sure how many people really realize this. I know I've spoken to some chapter officers and they've not realized that this document exists. We have a document on the DU website. It's under the Fraternity Resources page under the VP of External Relations, and it is our brand standards guide. In this guide, we talk about each of our logos and marks. We talk about how to use those marks. We talk about our colors. We talk about the logos for our ed programs and everything that we've got in DU and talking about how to use those properly and things like that. So that resource is on the website for all chapters to find. Again, it's under the Fraternity Resources page under VP External Relations. It's also on the symbols page as well. So I suggest that if your chapter doesn't already utilize this resource, please share it with them. They can always call me at IHQ and ask me any questions about that. And if a chapter ever needs a version of a logo or the badge or the coat of arms or anything like that, they're always welcome to call us here at IHQ, and we will send those to them via email so that they can use them in their publications. So that's a little bit about kind of DU's brand and the elements and some of the resources we give to chapters on that front. But briefly, I want to talk about PR campaigns. The bulk of what I'm going to talk about for the rest of the time will be social media strategies. But I want to talk about this because a lot of what chapters do can really be boiled down into a PR campaign, whether it's recruitment or fundraising for GSI or getting people to attend a philanthropy event or alumni relations. You can kind of section those off and think of those as a PR campaign. As with any PR campaign, I suggest that chapters build some strategy around it. Each campaign will have its own set of goals and objectives, audiences and tactics, and they can include a number of different communications methods. First, I suggest, making this plan. It will make things execute much more simply for the folks who are planning these events and those who are running social media pages or an alumni newsletter or whatever. In the plans for each of these, it's important to really identify your audiences, what info each audience needs, and the best ways to get that information to them. So for example, if you're thinking about fundraising for GSI, your audiences may include members, other students, parents, and alumni. What information do you want them to know, and what is the best ways to let them know that information? So for students, that may include social media, it may include flyers on campus, it may include an ad in the newspaper. For parents, it may be a letter or an email. For alumni, it may be posting in an alumni Facebook group, sending an email, an alumni newsletter, or specific posts from the chapter's Facebook page directed at alumni. So these campaigns can include a lot of different communications mediums here, and a lot of the content that chapters can get for their social media accounts and for their chapter newsletters can come from these campaigns. And when it comes down to managing social media and putting together a newsletter, makes finding the information for those things much easier if the other chapter officers planning events kind of have a plan for how they want to disseminate information about what it is that they're doing. As I said, the big chunk of today's session will be about social media best practices. When someone usually asks us for some communications tips, they're most likely asking us about some social media things. So a couple things to run through here, and an important one again is know your target audience. And chapters will have multiple audiences. Sometimes they get stuck in the fact of where they're just talking to themselves as brothers and the current undergraduate members of the chapter, but they will have multiple audiences, and that includes alumni, parents, other fraternities and sororities on campuses, other people on campus, and people in the community. And when they're working on their social media accounts and trying to get buy-in from other groups and talk to these different audiences, it's good to enlist the help of personal accounts. So whether that's changing your cover photo or asking each member of the chapter to post something, that will get that chapter's information spread out to these individual members as friends. Talk to like-minded organizations and friends to share your content. So for example, if you're hosting an event with the Humane Society, tag them in your posts. Try to get them to share some social media posts for you to reach people who may follow the Humane Society and say, oh, actually I want to come to campus and participate in this event or give the chapter some events that's going to help an organization that I believe in. So those are some important things there to know your target audiences and make sure you're not just focusing on the current members of the chapter. When doing social media strategy, it's really important to plan out your month. Here at IHQ, we use a really simple calendar to kind of plan what we're going on for the month. So as you can see here, we've got this one for the month of October. In it, each day, different things that we'll post each day, which medium we're going to post it on, so whether that's Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, all three, one or the other, but really helps us to visualize and organize our strategy and helps us not to forget anything. So if your chapters are doing Throwback Thursdays every week, being able to look at a calendar and say, oh yeah, I need to get this Throwback Thursday post ready, or we do a senior spotlight on the second Sunday of every month. I know that that's coming up and I need to get the information for that. Super easy to do. You can keep it in a Google Calendar so that all chapter officers can access it, but really a great way to organize your strategy and make sure you've got all your bases covered and communicating everything you need to communicate. Tips for social media. Facebook is always ever changing. All of them are, but Facebook in particular has always got new algorithms and formulas that they're working on. The number one piece of advice I can give chapters working with Facebook is to always include a photo or a link on Facebook. Facebook's algorithms actually work so that if a post doesn't have a picture or a link, that's less likely to show up in someone's newsfeed. So to really get your information seen, make sure you're posting pictures or links with those things. It's not as necessary on Twitter. Twitter doesn't have the same algorithms as Facebook does. But if you're thinking about your own social media usage and what's going to catch your eye as you're scrolling through a feed, those things with pictures or links or videos are going to be the ones that are going to catch your eye. And just some statistics on that. Color visuals increase a person's willingness to read a post by 80%, and posts with images produce 6 times more engagement than those posts that are just text only. So not only is it showing up in your feed, but again, it's really catching your audience's eye and getting them to read and learn about what it is that you're posting. Some takeaways for this that can help some chapters is to make sure that there's always someone at events who's taking photos. Real cameras are always preferred. Cell phone cameras have come a long way in recent years in terms of the quality of photos that you can take there. Still not completely there, especially if you're indoors. Flashes, even on the new iPhone, aren't great and really don't make too high quality pictures. So always make sure you've got someone there taking pictures. Photography, there's probably someone in the chapter who has an interest in photography and may be willing to take pictures at events for you. Or someone in the chapter probably has a friend who is interested in photography and may be willing to help the chapter out in that regard. But even if you don't have someone with a real camera and some photography skills, there are some add-ons people can buy for their cell phones to help with the pictures. Again, this is not necessary for a chapter to purchase, but just throwing it out there that there are some options for that. You can buy tripods for your iPod or your iPhone. You can buy external flashes for it, and you can even buy external lenses that slip onto the end of your phone and give your camera lens some additions and enhancements to it there. And when it comes to adding photos and things, people don't really need a lot of graphic design skills to be able to do this. There are lots of photo apps out there that are either for free or just a couple dollars that you can buy for your phone. A couple in particular are Canva, Prisma, Pixel, Quick, and PicLab. These 5 ones are really good, in my opinion, of adding new filters, letting people add text over top of photos. Canva, I think, is the best. They do have a desktop app for it, as well as an app for the phone that lets you add happy birthday here in the picture over top of it. So really add to photos if the person running the chapter social media doesn't necessarily have graphic design skills. There's a program to add these things to it on their own. It is really good to do things on the quick and on the fly, especially on your phone if you're working there. Next one is to grab video. I'm sure you guys have seen in your own social media feeds that video is becoming one of the biggest ways people are getting their news and entertainment these days. So it's important for chapters to try to get on that kind of bandwagon, because that's what their people who are following their accounts are looking at anyway for the other things that they follow. And it's important to know that these videos don't have to be full-on productions. You can do Facebook Live. I believe it was the Christopher Newport chapter a week or so ago, Facebook Live their initiation, which was pretty cool. You can do Facebook Live. You can just do short videos on Instagram. Snapchat allows you to do videos, but really with Instagram's feed now where you can add a story to Instagram, I think that Instagram, if a chapter already has an Instagram account, they really don't need a Snapchat account because their Instagram feed will allow people who may not be following them to kind of just see that stuff more easily than they would be if they're trying to find them on Snapchat. And even if a chapter does want to get fancy and add music to the back of it or add some text over top of some of the video, a lot of computer labs on campus are going to have these programs that students can access for free that if they need to edit any videos. So it's important to know that they can actually look at some of the resources they have on campus and computer labs that may be available to them to do some of these things themselves. They don't have to spend a bunch of money farming it out to someone else to pay to do for them. Some video ideas that we've seen here recently, take videos of your service events. Take videos of associate member pinning or initiation, any brotherhood events that are going on, intramurals, really anything that helps share the story of the chapter and highlights DU. Really, as we said before, the brand is who you are, and the brand of DU is what chapters should be capturing on their social media. So anything that kind of captures their identity and who DU is great to take video of. And as I'm sure you all know, these scans can be saved and can be used in recruitment videos in the future, can be repurposed in a bunch of different ways if you've got that stockpile of video available to you. Highlighting members is a really easy way to kind of build your chapter's brand and build people's affinity for the chapter, and will help them in a variety of ways. People support people, and people join people. So actually showing your members and highlighting these members on social media will get people more engaged with the chapter. It will help in recruitment. People join people, so if they're seeing people highlighted on your social media page, that will help in that regards. And then if you're doing a philanthropy or service event, people support people, and they're going to be more willing to support your cause if they know who it is that they're helping. Some of the things that we've seen that have worked out really well for chapters are member spotlights. This can include senior spotlights, Brothers of the Week, birthday posts, other noteworthy events, whether a member won an award, whether they landed a really great internship, whether they attended a DU educational program. Really anytime you can highlight and give a shout out to a brother on social media is a great way just to add some content, but then again, build affinity for the chapter. These are two examples here of posts that I saw today and screenshot and added into the presentation of chapters doing. This was Christopher Newport here and their Brother of the Week picture. And then this next one is what I'll get into now. It's also highlighting your associate members. So a strategy that has really worked for our expansion team is that they've posted a picture of each new associate member accepting his bid or getting his t-shirt here. This is our new colony at Texas. After they get their bid, they've been getting their first DU t-shirt here. So they've been doing individual posts of these guys as they've accepted their bids and including some information about them. And this is a great way for these guys to share their excitement about joining DU and share it with their family, and it makes them feel special. So member spotlights are great. But it's really important to not just give your name and the major and the hometown. Those things are all great. But in the captions, really try to explain, how does this member tell the DU story? You know, why did he join? What has he gained or learned from his membership? Or what did he learn when he was at President's Academy? Why did he want to become an officer? And what legacy does he want to leave? So really get into the why behind this guy and what makes him unique and what makes him interesting and how does he help share the story of who DU is. And this can be done through pictures and captions. It can be done with short videos. But to really go beyond that surface level name, major, hometown, and really kind of get into the heart of who this person is. Another great tip is to celebrate others, and I've seen lots of groups doing a great job at this already. So to really reach out to other groups on campus, others in the community, and giving them some shout outs on the chapter's social media. Again, chapters are constantly saying every year it's one of their goals that they want to improve their image on campus. And this is a really easy way to do that and increase your engagement with other groups. So some things that we see are Founders Day posts, and this can be the Fraternity or Sororities International Founders Day, and actually a list of all of those Founders Days can be found on page 144 in the Cornerstone, but then also chapter-specific installation dates. So for the fraternities and sororities on campus, what day did they get installed at that campus? And those dates can be found either on chapter websites or campus IFC and Panhell websites. Those dates are pretty easy to find and really easy to give a shout out. Happy Founders Day, Beta Theta Pi. Here's to another 176 years or however old it is that they are. Other things that you can do, tag other groups on campus. So if the chapter is getting ready to participate in a Relay for Life, post that they're going to do that, and make sure you're tagging Relay for Life. Relay for Life will tag that. They'll feel good about DU participating, may repost some of your stuff later on and help you promote, hey, our members just volunteered at Relay for Life, and now this many more people are seeing that and knowing that because Relay for Life liked our post or shared it or retweeted it. So to make sure that you're tagging those groups, you can do congratulations posts after an event. So say Alpha Phi Delta hosted a philanthropy event, you can say congrats, tag them in it on a successful event. If you have a picture of the chapter at that event, you get bonus points for that, so that you can show them that you were actually there and supporting. And finding groups that match your values. So, for example, if there's a chapter of Amnesty International on campus and they're doing an event about human rights, share resources that they're tweeting or posting. Encourage your members to go to those things, but to really find other groups on campus or in the community that align with DU principles, and share that content as well. It will just, again, help to increase the chapter's visibility on campus and to show others outside of the immediate Greek community all of the great things that DU is doing. And lastly, kind of just highlight your alumni. Again, a lot of times chapters really think that just their current undergraduate members are the ones that are following them on social media and listening to their posts, but really the alumni is the second biggest group of followers that a chapter will have on their social media accounts. So direct posts towards them, whether it's an event promotion, and if you want them to donate money or come to an event, specifically say, hey alumni, come help us out here. If you have throwback posts, direct those at alumni to look at. They'll get a kick out of those. Highlight advisors. Share some information about advisors and what it is that they're doing and why they continue to help out. And highlight a recent alum who's doing something really interesting. We all hear stories of great things that alums are doing, and so for chapters to highlight those, the better. I know I kind of sped through this. This is a lot quicker than I expected it to be. So these are kind of the biggest takeaways that we have for chapters when it comes to social media planning. Lots of other tools out there that chapters can use and utilize. But if anyone has any questions, feel free to put those in the chat box. And it can be about anything that I've discussed today or any other questions that you may have, whether that's alumni newsletters, crisis communications, if you wanted to get into any of that. I can definitely address some of those questions as well. Well, hearing none, I will go ahead and thank you guys again for your time today. As we said, the DU brand is really important. It's who we are. It's not necessarily our logos and our marks. Those things help us out. They help us show who we are. But really, it's all about sharing the DU story and how we can do that in everything that we do, whether that is through social media, through alumni newsletters, or through the quarterly and things that we try to do here at the headquarters level, really trying to share the DU story, the DU brand of who we are and what it is that we're trying to do. If chapters ever have any questions or comments or want to share news with us, I do a lot of fact-finding along the way. Every morning, go through our International Fraternity Facebook and Instagram and Twitter feeds, try to find out what chapters have been posting so that we can share those things. We get a lot of chapters who tell us, we hosted this great event and you guys didn't post about it. It's probably because we didn't know. So to really encourage chapters to share information with us so that we can share it on our social media pages or in the quarterly or in anything else that we're doing. Chapter-specific news and information and photos really helps the foundation go a long way too, as they're doing some of their work as well. So always feel free to reach out to us here at headquarters for questions, concerns, to share news with us. We are always looking for great stories on members that we can share. Again, thank you again for your time. The January webinar, still working out some dates for it, but the topic on it will be Title IX and loss prevention. That will be happening sometime in January, so I wanted to give you guys a heads up on that call. With that, thank you again, and have a great rest of the afternoon.